and welcome to FIDE World Women's Team Chess Championship. I'm Women Grandmaster Dina Belenka, and here with me, Grandmaster Irina Crush. This is the very first big over-the-board team event. Irina, how exciting are you about it?
I'm really excited, Dina, to join you today for the Women's World Team Championship coverage here on Chess.com. We have some great teams, actually 12 teams from around the world, lots of the world's top women players. We have Alexandra Garyachkina, Alexandra Kosteniuk, two finalists of the World Cup that just happened. Lots of strong players from Georgia, from the Ukraine. We have the Muzachuk sisters. So I think it's going to be a really exciting event.
Absolutely. And let us now take a look at the format of this round robin third stage.
So yeah, here we actually have... Oh, I'm sorry, Dina, to interrupt you.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
It's actually a new format. We should just let our viewers know that this is a really innovative format for the Women's World Team Championship, unlike, for example, ones that I've played in the past. The whole idea of dividing up teams into two pools. There's a pool A and a pool B. It actually reminds us a little bit of the format for the online Olympiad. And we have 6 teams in each pool. 4 of them are going to qualify to the knockout stage, where there's going to be quarterfinals, semifinals, and finals. And yeah, tell us what else do we need to know about this format, Dina?
Yes, the interesting thing about it is that not only the format has changed, this is the new system, but also the time control. For the very first time, World Team Championship is being played under rapid time control, 45 minutes plus 10 seconds increments. And this is our first portion. And when we go to the tie breaks later on in the classical stage, we will even have some ties with the blitz game, but that we will see later on. So here we can see for the first portion, as Irina mentioned, round robin stage, we have different tie breaks. First of all, it's the total number of game points. Then we have the Zonneborn Burger match points. We have also Burger game points. And then in the worst case, we have Berlin system, or even when it comes to the very critical situations, we'll have drawing of lots. But maybe we won't be there. Maybe we'll. Either way, what is exciting about this event is that this system is way more interesting for spectators as well as for commentators.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I just realized they have game points as the first sort of tiebreak criteria. So it's not match points like it often is in team events, Dina. That's really quite a new thing. So here it's like, it's going to matter whether you win your matches, 4-0 or 2.5, 1.5, because I mean, ultimately it's all going to come down to the number of points, not just whether, you minimally won each match. That definitely, by the way, that definitely favors the stronger teams. I found, because they're just able to win by larger margins. So for example, if it's enough to win a match by 2.5 points out of 4, maybe the solidity of the team is more important. It's like you can get by with a slightly less strong team, but if it's all going to come down to game points, then really, the strongest teams, I think it magnifies their advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. I really like this this thing, and I think it is in a way something that could make a transition from this normal system that we are used to, round robin, where the strongest team usually wins the event. And here we have this different knockout system. And sometimes in knockout, one would say, it's also about luck. But here, favoring the game points, it decreases the chance of luck.
Yeah, and so we have the criteria for the teams. So how were these 12 teams invited? Let's take a look. We got 4 teams by rating, Africa, Americas, Asia, and Europe. 5 teams with the highest average FIDE Rapid rating. We got a host country team. So I guess this is going to be Spain. And 2 teams nominated by the FIDE President. I don't know which teams were nominated by the FIDE President, actually. It's kind of interesting. Do you know, Dina?
Yeah, I would say FIDE Americans, and definitely one more team. We'll have a look at that later on. Also, don't hesitate to drop us a note in the comments. And yeah, this is super exciting. When probably last thing that we will mention is that we have 4 players for each team playing, and also 1 reserve player, and players, all of them can alternate.
Yep, guys, we are going to be following the chat on Twitch, so feel free to interact with us, ask us questions. We got 2 rounds per day, actually. So 2 rounds of 45-minute games, which is this kind of a hybrid between classical and rapid chess. So on one hand, it's going to be a lot slower than the Speed Chess Championship that we just commentated on Saturday, Dina. But on the other hand, it's not going to be like, as long as the games in the Singfields Cup, for example, that I was commentating on in August. It's a nice little in between time control. So we are going to see some exciting time pressure, I think, clashes as well.
Absolutely, that is going to be super exciting. And before the game start, let us take a very short break and be right back.
The Speed Chess Championship circuit has begun, with the next event on October 2nd. Titled players will battle out for weekly prizes, with the overall points leader stamping their ticket to the Speed Chess Championship main event. Catch all the action starting at 10 a.m. Pacific on Chess TV.
And welcome back to FIDE World Women's Team Championship. Here we are, Women Grandmaster Dina Belenka and Grandmaster Rina Crush. And seems like the games are about to start. We will look first at the Pool B, because this is where we apparently have the tightest matchup between Team Georgia and Team Ukraine. And Irina, who do you think is the favorite in this match?
Well, I think Ukraine is probably a little bit of the favorite. I mean, certainly on paper, you know, Anna and Maria Muzichuk are a bit higher rated than Nana Zagnidze, Nino Vatsiashvili. They also have former women's world champion Anna Ushenina playing on board 3. But, you know, that's just on paper. I find like, you know, they're definitely close enough that this is a super competitive match. And would I be surprised if, let's say, Georgia won? I really wouldn't. So I think it just depends on what kind of shape the players are going to be in for this match. And that's why, for me, this is really the match to follow for this round.
Yes, that is true. You know, one interesting thing about Georgia is that they do not have their so to be the strongest on paper matchup, because we know normally we're used to see Bella Hadinashvili representing board 1 or board 2 of Team Georgia, but Arabidze Mary is also very strong, very experienced player, so that is not gonna be, yeah. Okay, once again, Ukraine is a favorite, but that's not gonna be easy at all. In fact, any score is possible in this match.
Yeah, I find it interesting. I mean, first of all, just to see, we have a video of the players. Some of the players are wearing masks, some of them are not. So it's always kind of interesting to see how people feel about that. Have the game started, Dina? Not yet. Yeah, we have Anna Muzichuk. Oh, yeah, that's right. We can see them. They have not played their first move. They're probably getting, hearing some sort of announcements, clapping, maybe for the organizers and sponsors. In the video, we also see Harika really looking focused there. She must be playing, I think they're playing Azerbaijan. That's right. India is playing Azerbaijan in this round. So she's, Harika is India's top board. She just played really, really well in the online Olympiad. And India is playing without, you know, their top player, Humpy Koneru. We also got on our screen Elena Danielyan, who is fresh from her win in the European Women's Championship. I believe was that in Romania, Dina?
Yeah, that's correct. I was there myself. It was in Iași, Romania, and wow, that was an amazing performance from Elena Danielyan. And yeah, she managed to break this, you know, as we say, superstition about age differences, and yeah, very inspiring performance as well. Yeah, she's facing Marie Sebag from France, the only French woman having achieved the title of Grandmaster, so the legendary player as well. That is going to be a very interesting matchup between those two. Marie is not active now as much as she used to be, but Grandmasters, just like you, Irina, they're always once Grandmaster, also always Grandmaster.
Yeah, you can sometimes play well, you know. That's right, even if you're not as active as you used to be. So now the games are off to a start. We also got Alexandra Kostyanyuk. She's there on video playing Anna Matnadze. You know, it's really funny. Anna Matnadze is that's a player of my generation, my exact year. We played World Youth Championships when, like, one of my most memorable tournaments from my childhood was the World Youth Girls Under 10 Championship in Slovakia and Bratislava in 1993, and the winner of that tournament was Anna Matnadze. You know, and I got well, the reason it's so memorable for me is because I got a very disappointing fourth place out of the medals, and I in my last round I had rook, bishop, and three pawns, and my opponent had rook and bishop, Dina.
Wow.
I had three connected pass pawns, and I was put in check, and then I went with my king to the back rank where I got mated by the rook and bishop.
Oh
It was a
no.
horrible blunder. And it was like so sad because if I would have won that game, I would have tied for first with Anna, and I would have gotten second on tie breaks anyway, I think. But there was a big difference between a medal and not a medal for me. So I was so that game was so devastating for me. Very very memorable for my childhood. And but yeah, Anna was a very strong player in those World Youth events. And she was, she was a gold medalist that year, and I'm pretty sure she won other medals as well.
Yes, she's indeed a very strong player representing Spain for many, many years. And well, what a nice story. It is always a pleasure to have, those insights from commentators on the players who they know like personally when it comes to like chess wise, yeah, and have some stories to share. So yeah, I'm looking forward to many, many more insights of those during the upcoming week.
Yeah, I'll try to come up with some, Dina. Hopefully I don't have too many more of those heartbreaking stories to share. But that was the number one most heartbreaking moments of my childhood chess days. It actually took me a while to start winning medals in World Youth Championships, and there were players who were just more successful than me in those early days, and it took a little while to kind of catch up and have some successes of my own. But eventually, if you stick with it, keep playing, then you'll get those victories too.
Yes, absolutely. It's all about hard work and discipline. And here we are with the games from some of the strongest players of the world. We have two grandmasters. Let us now look at the board. We have on our screens the game between Anna Muzichuk with white pieces against Nana Zagnidze. And this looks like a Sicilian defense variation. Rina, do you have any preference in this opening?
Yeah, let's take a look because I think something unusual happened, right? Like this E5 move. I mean, okay, yeah, this is all standard. We have E6, D4, knight D4, A6. That's the con variation. Bishop D3. Now knight F6. Knight F6 and castles, right? Oh, and the main move is Queen C7 here actually, for black to stop the move E5. So black playing E5. I've never seen that myself. I'm assuming it's there must be some little problem with it, but of course, it's something that Nana has clearly prepared, and she's trying to surprise Anna here, and you can see in their posture, Nana is like kind of leans back, she's in her preparation, and Anna is like concentrating and trying to like figure out where to put this knight because yeah, like I said, this is a pretty unusual move. I've never seen that pawn go from e6 to e5 like that in this position.
Yeah, now it is transforming something which really looks like Sveshnikov or yeah, the Chelyabinsk that we see in Russian
Yeah.
speaking circle, the Sveshnikov variation, but with the tempo down. Should there be something that favors black? Otherwise, in this idea, otherwise Nana wouldn't go here. I think we will see many more explanations soon.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like a Kalashnikov, except, white cannot play knight b5, right? So that's interesting that this black has a pawn on a6 and knight's not going to b5. So where is the knight going? I mean, I'm assuming if the knight goes to b3 or f3, I mean, well, yeah, I mean, I'm sure white can go knight f3, d6, and c4. It's probably possible. Oh, wow. So she played bishop g5. Yes.
Nice. And now capturing the knight is not possible because there's going to be e5. So we have d6 instantly.
Yeah, okay. Bishop g5. It's um not the first move that came to my mind, but yes, of course, it is working tactically. So she plays d6, so the knight has to move at some point, right? I mean, unless she wants to go f4, which looks a little crazy. And kind of hard to believe. I don't think white's going to be doing that. I mean, maybe knight f5, maybe knight f5, and then because at least black has played d6, right? So when black tries to play d5, they'll be losing a tempo. But on the other hand, okay, we can take a look at that, right? We can take a look at knight f5.
Okay, knight
And we're allowed
f5.
to, yeah, knight f5, bishop takes f5, pawn takes. What is this position? I
All
mean,
right, so here we have only one game. In the base, it was bishop e7.
yeah, because d5, it looks, I mean, you'd like to play that move, but you're probably going to have to wait a little bit. You need to get more development in.
Yeah, and here we have this open e file, so the rook will come. F4 probably trying to open everything. This position looks like white is having a very nice advantage, both dynamically and strategically, I would
Yeah,
say.
I think, Dina, like here, what's interesting, for example, if bishop e7, you can go, let's say you go knight c3, right?
Knight c3.
Yeah, I mean, the bishop takes f6 was also possible. Okay, actually, I see the computer went down in the evaluation a little bit. Let's try bishop takes f6 first.
Okay, bishop
Right
f6,
here.
bishop
Yeah.
f6.
And now even like bishop e4, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, that is very typical strategical blockading of those pawns of the bishop, dark squared bishop, pawns of the same color. So it seems like very bad situation for black.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what white should be going for, this light square blockade with knight c3 coming. And I don't see this as being equal. So let's see. Right now, Anna is thinking, right? So what do we have as the current position on the board?
All
Thinking after
right. Yeah, this is the position that we have right now on the board. And
I
we can
do predict
see
that she'll play knight f5. I think it's
yeah, knight f5.
intuitive.
Does Nana have something else? Some moves like h6, knight c6, bishop e6. Yeah, they all look a little bit
If you play h6, Dina, I'm gonna take on f6, and then I can even play knight e3. Like even that position, I don't really like.
oh wow. All right, this is such a perfect square for the knight when playing against the backward d6 pawn and this d5 outpost.
We have someone in our chat. We have Kimchi saying, "Did someone brushed Irina's hair?" Well, that's a good one, Kimchi. See, I like this hairstyle. Just so you know, this is not an accident. This is like my preferred look.
Yeah, and I also like it. So
Big hair,
yeah,
like
it
a
shows that
lion's
like
mane.
next goal is gonna be to make the hair aligned with your chest strength. Big hair, big strength, big elo. We should, by the way, taking example from Nana Zagnidze. So, but here is a bad example because Nana is a little bit worse. So we'd probably want to be like Anna's example. Either way, let's go back to the game. We don't have any updates. How about we
I think she made a move though. She did
knight
play
f5 is the
5.
update,
Yeah.
correct?
I can see that because now Nana is thinking, and she played knight d7. So okay. I'm sure Anna is not too unhappy with her position. Well, let's see what makes sense for her. I mean, the question for her right now, I think she's going to be thinking about is like, can she try to put pressure on the d pawn? You always want to take a look at a move like bishop c4. Not saying that it's that good, but I feel like I would at least take a look in that direction. Then there's the normal stuff that she can do, just knight c3, of course. Probably more likely to do that. Probably just
Yeah, or also even pawn c4 seems pretty natural to take this Maroczy kind of structure, pawn structure for white. Also very strong normally against dragon, but here like no, this position is a dream for white, I would say. And I'm really wondering what was the whole point of Nana going into it. Normally, when you decide to take something, some real lines, to go for some real lines in the opening, you kind of want to surprise your opponent, and you're hoping that he won't find the strongest moves. But here it looks like all the moves that white did were natural. So like even if Anna was in the situation of surprise, or would be in the situation of surprise, yeah, it wouldn't be that hard to find those moves because they are simply logical.
yeah, bishop g5 was definitely the key move for her, like not just moving the knight back right away. So she definitely found a good intermediate move there. Putting the bishop on the right square to challenge the knight and get better control over d5. So I like her position. Maybe we can go and take a look at another game in this
Yeah, one
match.
last thing I'll add about Nana. I had a chance to commentate on her games in the World Cup when she was playing Carissa, I believe, and that was there were some very interesting ideas in the openings with the H pawn moves in the Sicilian. And when we asked Nana what was the point of this like rear line, which doesn't even exist, she actually said that sometimes it may come to occur to her that she just lies down on the sofa and thinks, what are the possible ideas that I could come up with? And she comes up with her own ideas in the openings here in the Sicilian. That was the case in the World Cup. So I wouldn't be surprised if this E5 was also her personal novelty.
Oh wow, interesting. Um, so we have a question in from a brainstorm. Have I played Anna Muzichuk as a kid, considering they were both from Ukraine? Well, okay, the answer to that is I've certainly played Anna before, but it's not because we're both from the Ukraine. Actually, I grew up in the United States. I've been here since I was 5 years old. And I think probably around the time I came to the US, Anna was just being born. So, I'm a bit older than her. So we definitely did not play back in the Ukraine. And my first game against Anna was, I think it was the 2010 Olympiad I really should remember where it was. 2010 was Hantimansisk Olympiad. And I believe she was still playing for Slovenia back then,
Yeah,
which was
that's true.
quite strong, around, at least 2,500 back then. And yeah, I think that since then, of course, I've played her. Well, not actually a whole ton. Yeah, I have not. I mean, I've played Maria a bit of Anna, a bit with Anna, but not. I cannot remember too many games where I've played Anna.
Yeah, that's anyway, yeah, you have faced them. So these players you know very well, and it's gonna be very exciting to see some more of the ideas. By the way, speaking of those who you have played, have you? I mean, of course you have. How many games have you had with these two ladies? We have Nino Batsashvili here with white pieces on the board too, facing Maria Muzichuk, Anna's sister.
Yeah, against Nino, I don't think I've ever played Nino. She was my roommate in a tournament in Qatar. I believe it was, oh, I played in Qatar 2 years in a row. So she was um, my roommate for, I think, one of those tournaments, maybe 2014 or 2015. So I got to know her there. It was quite nice. I mean, so we get along very well. When I visited Georgia a few years after that, and I was in her hometown of Batumi, we got together for dinner there. And let's see, Maria Muzichuk also, um, I've played her a few times. I mean, the last time I played her was not so positive because I played her in the last round of the Olympiad in 2018 in Georgia. And it was an important match for us that we lost to Ukraine. And actually, I lost. And that's, instead of getting the gold medal on my board, I got the silver medal, and she got the gold medal. So we flipped, because of that game. But yeah, I mean, she's a very, very strong player.
And here we have an English opening in the game, starting with c4, e5. And now it is, wow, it is a very unusual kind of, no, wait, it is usual. This knight, no, the e4, right? The e4 move is the
Yeah,
PD.
e4. I mean, people do play this move. I mean, it's maybe a bit unusual, like from my perspective. I don't think I've ever played this, but I know it exists, and sort of faster time controls, I've definitely seen this before. So, let's see. Oh, it seems like Nino is playing faster. So let's see where they are right now.
Here there are some interesting ideas with bishop takes f2, but they are more known with the g3 setup. With the g3 instead of e4, so when we have the pawn on e2, the bishop f2 would be the correct move, and knight takes e5 wouldn't be, and that position was way more popular. But here knight e5 is all right, because like if we imagine bishop takes f2, here the problem is that after knight takes e5, d4, now the c4 pawn is protected because the pawn is already on e4, and now this position, even after, let's say, check, and king goes back, some would say, aha, I destroyed his castle, and so I should have an advantage, but unfortunately, no, this position is totally winning for white because of this amazing, amazing pawns in the center. So that is the whole idea, and that's why we see here knight takes e5, d4, bishop d4. Also, another idea would be to keep the bishop. Let's say play bishop d6 and then take with the bishop. But here black took on d4, gave away the bishop, and this is the position that we right now have on the screens.
I'm sorry, I gotta say one more funny thing from the chat, Dina. This is, who was this? This was Hair something. No, Brainstorm. Someone said Irina is turning into Albert Einstein. I love that one. From the hair, the crazy hair. What a compliment.
Yes, that is indeed a compliment, and we do need Einstein here for the for the world team championship commentary. If not Einstein, then who? And yeah, let's make a use of this hair to help us understand what's happening on this board.
Yeah. Okay. Let's get back into the chess. Well, I mean, I do rather like White's position at first glance. I mean, White has the bishop pair. White has a space advantage. What are Black's trumps in this position? I kind of fail to see. So I do like this opening by Nino, and we can see she has like a 7-minute time advantage already. Wow. I mean, it's actually quite a big advantage. Quite a big advantage on the board, I mean, because she has some very simple moves that she's going to make, right? She's going to play like bishop, well, e3, because the knight has to go back to c6, I guess. So she'll play queen d3, is my prediction. She'll keep her queen in the center. I think it's a pretty good square. I mean, she could try like going somewhere like f2 as well if she has a different concept for where she wants to put her bishop. If she really wants to put her bishop on d3, not a bad idea either. I can see that, but queen d3 is sort of standard. And yeah, she's got really a sizable space advantage.
Yeah, like looking at the evaluation bar, it is actually a very big advantage out of the opening, and I would say Black didn't equalize. And that is pretty much weird for me to see someone like Maria Muzichuk, a player of such a high caliber, not fighting for like, I wanted to say equality, probably not the right word, but yeah, fighting for a proposition. I mean, do you say equality?
Yeah, no quality in this position. And it's interesting she chose d1 for her queen. I guess because she does want to have bishop d3 as an option. Right, that was what that choice was about. Because obviously, rook e8 is like how Black can attack that pawn. And then she would have had to put the bishop on f3, and she wants to put it on d3, which I agree. It's a nice square, bishop d3, bishop e3. And white can afford to be patient in positions like this. I mean, they just need to hold their center, not trade any pieces, and like not let that center fall apart.
Yeah, there is understandable. But how would you explain this opening choice of Maria?
Well, I would say maybe she wasn't super familiar with the
With
move
e4.
before. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
She played bishop c5, which, looks pretty normal, but maybe it's just not as good of a move.
Yeah, it might actually be bishop b4 the more the more that's something that you yeah the more popular version
Yeah.
of it. All right, so this is the position that we have right now on the screens, and now Marie is thinking. Would you like to move on to the board number 3?
I would. Let's see. We got Ushanina facing off against Arabidze there.
Yeah, and oh, that is interesting. How exciting.
Ushanina is a former women's world champion. She won the women's world knockout championship I would love to tell you the year. I think it was 2012, if I'm not mistaken. And then she lost her match to Hao Yifan. It was actually played, I think, in the Ukraine and China, or maybe it was all in China. I can't remember. And we have a few women's world champions from the Ukraine. Actually, we have Maria Muzachuk and Anna Ushanina.
Yeah, that is correct. And also, Anna Muzichuk has been a multiple rapid and blitz world champion, but unfortunately, we don't have right now the game between Anna and Mary. So I suggest we move to the board number.
Yeah, we have Shansaya here playing Elizabeth Patz. That's another interesting. Oh, okay, we got this
Yeah,
one
but
up.
this is yeah. All right, so I think we have only first two words loading. So let us then jump to another match. We have match number 2 between Kazakhstan and Germany, and this is, as you mentioned, the game between Jansaya Abdumalik with white pieces versus Elizabeth Batts. This is an interesting game. Oh, look at the evaluation
Yeah, I know.
bar.
The evaluation makes like
Oh.
when I saw the position, I was like, wow, this is a nice opening for Shansaya. When I saw the evaluation bar, I was like, wow, it's better than just nice. Let's take a look at why the computer evaluates this as so winning. But also, yeah, let's see what happened here. So it was a
Okay.
Najdorf.
A typical, but 92 is a more rare move with the idea of g3 and castling. Oh, sorry. Fianchetto bishop, fianchetto, and b5, b4. Okay, this is all normal for now. So where was the mistake? Bishop e3, bishop e6, queen d2, and bishop c8.
Oh,
No,
wait, what? She just
that
hung the rook.
this
No, that's
might
probably
be
not what
no,
happened.
that's not what happened. That's not what happens. Yeah,
Right.
bishop c8.
Yep.
No. That's probably not something that happens. We we don't think that this move is possible here. I mean, apart from the fact that this is a blunder, it is also super not natural, not logical move at all. You do not want to move this bishop anywhere like this. So that might have been something like rook d7, I assume, or rook b7. Not rook c7 because that would be bishop b6. So yeah, I suppose rook d7 should be the move that might have happened in this game.
Yeah, because on queen b4, there's d5, and black is getting a ton of play there.
Yeah, this is just d5. This is great position. So yeah, white wouldn't take the pawn. Something like castle could follow, but also you need to watch out for h4. This is a very unusual setup for black. I mean, normally you expect this rook to be on a8, and here it's on d7. Made this amazing lift, and this could be a very great achievement strategically for black.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I like this h4 idea quite a bit. Also, black has a d5 idea as well. White's knight needs to be a little closer to the d5 square, and right now on e2, the knight is pretty passive. So I mean, f4, there's problems with playing that as well because I mean, on pawn takes, okay, you could take with a knight. It is possible. But you also have to consider, I mean, f4, d5, f5, pawn takes e4. I mean, it gets kind of wild, but I think it's pretty good for black. So I'm liking black here. Yeah, I feel comfortable because I like to see positions where I have a number of good ideas and my opponent needs to be defending.
Yes, and so do I. All right. We have one more game that we can take a look at.
Yeah, actually, we can go to a break now, Dina, and
Yeah, that
then we
makes a
will
lot of
come back
sense.
and take a look at the rest of the games.
Let's go. And welcome back to FIDE World Women's Team Championship. Dina Balenka and Irina Crush. And here we are with the Pool A coming for you. We have so many interesting matchups in the Pool A. We have already seen matchups from the Pool B. There were some interesting ideas in the opening from Nana Zagnidze and Nino Batsashvili in the matchup between Georgia and Ukraine. As Irina said, this is might be the toughest matchup. But let us now take a look at the Pool A, because seems like here we also have some very interesting team compositions. Here on the screens, on the cameras, we see India versus Azerbaijan. Irina, who do you think is the favorite in this matchup?
Okay, yeah, India, Azerbaijan, I think is actually, I mean, I guess instinctively I would give a bit of an advantage to India. I think their player Vaishali is quite strong. I mean, it's not really reflected in this rapid rating, which just hasn't really caught up, I think, to her real strength. But I think India has a lot of these like young up and coming players that are quite strong, and Azerbaijan as well. I mean, but I'm not so sure about their depth on the lower boards. Of course, they have a strong player, Gulnay Mamadova, or was it Gulnar Mamadova?
Yeah,
She's
that's correct.
well, actually, it's interesting. So we have that's Gulnar Mamadova. We have Mamadova and Mamadzova. Okay, so
Yeah,
which one?
I'll help you out. There is
Yeah,
Mamadzada Gunay.
yes,
She's currently the strongest, the highest rated, let's say, the highest rated Asari
yeah.
player. And a very young player also who's a part of Polgar Kramnik challenge, and she's facing Harika Durnavali. But there is also Gulnar Madova, a way more experienced player, a little bit lower rated, but also super strong board too. And right now on the screens, we see the game between the board one of Azerbaijan versus India, Gunay Mamadzada versus Harika Durnavali. All right, this is Rul Lopez opening. Let's take a look at the moves.
Yeah, Harika is very diverse in her opening choices. I mean, she really, I think, studies chess a lot, and that's reflected in the fact that she can play a lot of different openings. It's not, I think she's more versatile in the openings than most players, in fact. So I mean, I personally didn't really know she was much of a E4, E5 player. for black. Well, maybe that's because I don't play e4, so I wasn't as paying as much attention to that when I was preparing for her. But I think she plays the French for black. What else does she play for black? I mean, okay, maybe e5 is part of her repertoire because it is for most of the top women players. So let's see this position. I mean, why can't black try to snatch a pawn? Right? Is it whose turn is it here? It's black's turn. So why
Yeah,
can't
it's
she
black
take
to
on
move.
d4?
Like e takes d4 would be followed by c takes d4. And now you kind of want to take this one?
I do because normally you can't because of yes, because of this little trick.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And now when knight from c6 goes away, there's gonna be a bishop takes a7 and discovered attack on the knight on e4.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Actually makes sense.
There's like a tactical reason. Yeah.
All right, so we won't probably see e takes d4 because that would lose give away the center, and unless you win a pawn, you don't really want to do that.
Yeah, so what kind of moves could black do here actually? What makes sense? I mean, h6 or something? I mean it's kind of typical to do something like h6.
Normal idea for black would be to push the pawn to c5, but here it's not so easy to do. You kind of would need to put this knight away, something like knight a5, but then knight would go to b7 or c4, but maybe knight a5.
Okay, knight a5. Okay, let's take a look at that. I mean, it's certainly very logical.
Knight a5, and seems like it doesn't work because of yet one more tactical blow. There is overcharge, or here with the queen and the bishop and protecting the e5 pawn.
Yeah, it's also interesting. So on pawn takes e5, was there bishop takes e3? Or
yeah, let's take this one.
Or pawn f6 there is just good for white.
Bishop takes, intermediate, e takes f6. Now bishop is attacked, and I kind of want to open up your king.
Yeah, so that
pretty unpleasant.
Pretty good for white.
All right, that makes sense. So knight a5 is not an option. But what are other alternatives that we have here? Oh, we already have the move, and it is h6. One of those you mentioned, by the way.
Yeah, it's the one of those like when you don't have that much to do, how to improve your position a little bit. Pretty typical. Well, how about, I mean, white's moves are pretty obvious. White's going to go knight d2, I suppose, right? It's a lot easier to kind of figure out a move for white. Maybe at some point, I just realized, Dina, maybe at some point, yeah, black tries to play d5 in these positions. Because if they don't play that, they really have nothing to do. So let's just take a look at that. When white goes knight bd2, right? What's going to happen on d5? It's pretty typical, and I know there's been some games, some top games, even in the World Cup, with this kind of move.
We have d takes e5.
Yeah, knight takes e5, I think.
Knight takes e5. We have bishop takes a7. Let's say rook takes a7, and here seems like there is no harmony between black's pieces.
Yeah.
Every single piece of them gets under attack.
It's just too good, yeah. So black has to be careful about how he prepares this d5 move.
Yeah, it doesn't work immediately.
So we're going to put knight d2 on the board.
Knight d2.
And we're going to think.
Yeah. There might be some ideas of bringing the rook, the last piece still to be, which is not developed, to the play.
Yeah, I have to say, like, I like white's position in general. And even at some point, I'm thinking about like ideas like b4. I mean, it might be not the perfect moment. I mean, I want to do like b4 and d5. It's one idea I would look at. b4 isn't bad. I mean, it's kind of similar. Like, you still can't really do d5. Like, what if I do play b4? Let's try that.
All right, interesting. b4. In a way, you weaken your c4 square, but there is no one who can enter there. So let's say I move something like
rook ad8. Well, rook ad8, then you also have to consider this pawn takes. Well, no, pawn takes e5. You'll just take. Yeah, you can take with the pawn though. It's not such a big deal because your knight protects a7. Although,
Okay.
there are positions, by the way, even here, right? Like, yeah, we can go for this. We can actually go for pawn takes e5, pawn takes e5 because the c5 square is weak. So we're just
Yeah.
gonna trade on a7 and play knight b3, I think. It's fine. And even here, it's like,
Oh,
yeah,
apparently
here
we're
maybe
blundering the
we're
e4 pawn.
yeah, maybe we're blundering the pawn because you have to take with the, oh yeah, either way
You
you're gonna
can
blunder the
probably
pawn.
start with queen e2
Yeah.
and then knight b3, knight c5 could be a very nice strategical idea.
Yeah, there's, these positions, they don't seem like much with these symmetrical structures, but even so, right? Like if I play knight b3 here, you go knight f4, queen e3, I still see some pressure for white.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. And I'm wondering, wasn't there some kind of inaccuracy from black to enter to this what we have? By the way, 92 is already on the board.
I like white's position in this uh, in this line. I have to say, like recently I had one student, like I teach a young girl, and I decided it's time to start playing the Rye Lopez, instead of the Scotch. So so we started like learning these positions a bit, and in general, I just feel like yes, black needs more precision than white. Yeah, white's moves are like more intuitive. White's got that space advantage. The two pawns in the center, e4, d4 versus e5, d6, and this move a3 is quite an interesting move as well. Like at first, I was kind of surprised when I saw moves like that, but it's got various subtle points behind it.
Yeah, also somewhere after taking on d4, c takes d4, you don't want to get knight b4 for the bishop. And yeah, one day you want probably to play b4. It's a very interesting move indeed, and it is, yeah, it has some strategical ideas. That's correct. I also do prefer white here, and like bishop c5 is a very popular move as well, not as popular as bishop e7 or b5, but still it shouldn't it shouldn't give white such an easy play as we have right now. You know what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
wondering, like, seems like everything that white did went so good that they have just like these kinds of
Ooh.
positions, I would call them, position for two results.
Yes. Yeah. So black just played knight b8. Okay. Sure. I mean, it's
Ooh.
typical enough.
Yeah, by the way, remember that thing I showed c5, the main idea of black and any or rule opus, and here is probably the same thing that Harika is trying to do.
Yeah. Really interesting. Now let's think. How should white respond? I mean, we know white's not going to go d5. That's one pretty clear thing. And the reason they're not going to go d5 is white will only play, by the way, guys, white will only play d5 when black goes c5. Black goes c5, then white takes that space, closes up the bishops. Now, the reason white cannot really play d5 themselves is because black will play c6 and undermine that pawn, and that tends to be giving black enough counterplay. So we're not going to see that move. So what are we going to see? Like how white can, okay, white cannot really go knight f1, right? Because now e4 is going to hang. So we have to be careful with that. So that idea is off the table. So knight b8, I think knight b8 is at least, well, it's a reasonable move. I can understand why she's doing it. It gives white something to think about.
Yeah, I would call it the practical move, making your plans and asking your opponent what does he want to do next. I'm wondering, is b4 a move, the one that we have spoken about previously?
Yeah, I think b4 is definitely a possibility.
No,
Also it's interesting to
c5.
talk about, yeah, if
Possible.
c5, yeah, somewhere there's d5 or even winning the pawn on
Yeah, you just grab the
five is
pawn.
probably.
So b4 stops c5, but here black doesn't need to rush. Could probably move something like bishop b6. I think it's playable. I think it's playable.
I think also let's take a look at pawn takes e5. Let's what's going on in that structure because it
Pawn
is an
takes
important.
c5. Let's say bishop e3.
Well, bishop
You
e3.
didn't have to
Oh,
take it.
bishop e3. I'll take. Okay, I take an f6. You take on d2, right?
Yeah.
Then you might be.
We take queen takes, and here we have queen takes f6. Once again, a slight little advantage for white. The question is, did they have something better before, or is that good enough?
Yeah, it doesn't seem like a huge advantage, right? I mean, as long as black will play like knight d7.
Knight e5. Here we have, yeah, it's a decent play. It's a decent play for white. You know, it's really nice to see every single line that we suggested analyze white is everywhere better. Sometimes it's a question how much or how big is the white's advantage, but it's really surprising to see that white doesn't risk anything anywhere. And once again, I would conclude this game by the fact that black didn't equalize in the opening.
Yeah. Although one thing that we can say is that black has twice as much time as white. Black's been playing like instantly. White's the white's time situation. I mean, they're definitely eating up the clock right now. Not so good. And Harika, you know, she is a very practical player, and she does play quickly, and that's why she was doing so well for the Indian team at the online Olympiad. She won both of her games actually in the match against USA, I believe. As far as I remember.
Yeah,
and,
she was also...
yeah, she beat Anna and she beat Nazi. Yes.
Yeah, she was also a favorite. So in those two matches, but either way, she did good.
Yeah. I mean, so if pawn takes e5, what about like just pawn takes e5? Let's talk about that structure.
Okay, bishop takes a7.
Yeah.
Rook takes a7.
How significant is white's
and
advantage?
Queen a2, let's say. All right, so
we can also offer them an endgame, and we could play knight b3 now, Dina.
Oh, nice.
If we wanted to, we could just be like, well, we know now if you take, you just put my rook on the open file.
So I have also either queen takes d1 or knight d7 protecting the c5 pawn. But let's say you said endgame.
Let's go knight d7, knight d7, because I think like helping white, I don't know, develop its. I mean, I would probably look at more at this.
Ooh, a4. Look at this move. Using the fact that the rook on a7 is not protected. So if black were to lose a tempo with rook a8, then you already take. You take everything, and then how can you use it? Oh, you cannot.
Maybe not take on a8. Maybe go queen e2.
Knight a5. This is a very interesting, dynamical idea for white. It gets complicated, I would say. What were you saying?
Yeah, I was saying, well, also queen e2 is a move here that came to mind right here as well. Definitely liking white's position here, but I think she needs to really hurry up. And if people are asking, oh, so where is the United States, by the way, travel restrictions? Well, as I was talking about with Dina earlier, the dates for this tournament are really not the best for the American players, right? Because it's right before the US Championship. And, you know, a lot of our players are also in college or in school. That wasn't the best. So, I mean, that's why you actually don't see a single American player in this tournament. And so I think they turned that into like the FIDE Americas team, like realizing that like the US was just not going to be able to field the team. So we did definitely qualify, I think, as the top team from the American continent, but we're not there.
Yeah, so. Well, at least we have here with us Grandmaster Nino commentating, and not only being here, but also wearing the national United States.
Yeah, here we go. You guys see this great jacket I got for the online Olympiad with the beautiful flag, the St. Louis Chess Club logo, US Chess. Yeah, I love this jacket. Thank you, Dina.
So at least we have some presence. Not everything is that pessimistic for those who always follow and support United States.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to be here. We're gonna be here like the whole week, Dina, commentating on this tournament, and it's gonna be, I think, a lot of fun.
Absolutely. We'll also have Wound Grandmaster Jennifer Shahada joining us on Thursday, so be ready for a very exciting show.
Yeah, Jennifer, my longtime friend from, my teenage years, we've known each other for so long now. Um, so let's see what other game we're gonna go to. What looks interesting to you, Dino?
Yeah, let's jump to the board 2 of the same match to follow the spirit. We have on the board 2 for India, we have Vaishali, young player, one grandmaster, facing Gulnar Mamadova.
So this was a
And
Petrov.
ooh,
Petrov, I believe. Yeah.
correct. C4. Isn't this some kind of like popular line nowadays?
No, I don't know anything about this move, I gotta admit, but I think they got into something pretty theoretical, right? That I think it just transposed.
Yeah, so normally by popularity, it's move number 5 in the book. Not that known, but yeah, let's take a look at what it gave. Well, one interesting achievement so far for white is that the position is not symmetrical. And whenever you are with white and you were facing Petrov, you kind of want to avoid quick draw because you really want to find something to play for. And this is what Vaishali did here. Vaishali is is a very promising player for India. She's indeed very young. I believe she's of the same age of Chiyu. Those who are watching us should know her very well as a famous streamer, Aka Nemsko. And Chiyu was actually facing Vaishali in the World Cup and got unfortunately knocked out by her. So yeah, let's see what do we have so far here. Did white get any advantage?
Well, if they had some advantage, they probably lost it somewhere along the way because what I'm seeing right now in front of me, I don't feel that advantage that white has. I mean, okay, right now knight takes d4 is a threat, right? White's got the backward c3 pawn, which they can't really advance. So what are they going to do? Like queen, yeah, they're going to move their queen, and I think they just did that, right? Queen b2.
Yeah, queen b2 just followed. There was also idea knight b4, apart from knight d4 using the pin, and yeah, moving the queen away was the most logical thing. Now, I really like this queen on h5.
Did you notice, Dina, there was an interesting idea, bishop e2?
Ooh, yeah. Trying to trade the bishops. And whose favor is that in?
Definitely in blacks, right? I mean, that's just, I don't know. It looks very attractive to bring in the queen like that. I mean, the bishop on d3 was covering a lot of squares, and I don't know. I mean, of course, you can just play knight a5 or you can play b6. I mean, you can do all of that, but I don't know. Bishop e2 seems positionally like I see the computer's not like a huge fan of that move. It's not like bad, but I would think it makes a lot of sense because you just don't positionally need your bishop on g4. Like the bishop on d3 seems to do a lot more for white.
Yeah, absolutely. Looks way stronger, and trading this bishop, one of the strongest pieces of white, would would make a lot of sense here. All right.
I'm gonna bet that she's gonna play this move.
Yeah,
I like to put in my bets, during commentary. So we're gonna make it the first one of the morning.
Yeah, we also sometimes have polls in the chat. Usually voting on the result, not on the move, because might actually take less time for the move to be played than for the poll to be ended. But don't hesitate to tell us who are you, what do you expect our dear viewers in the chat.
Yeah. So we just saw Nana. Oh, she went knight a5. Okay.
Yeah, and that's something that's yeah.
First,
I was almost yeah. I'm almost ready to say you lost your bet, but
I lost my bet. Yeah. But knight a5 of course is a reasonable move, and I guess what is white gonna do? Like rook fe1. I mean, they need to, I think, stop this whole idea. But black can always go bishop f5. I guess if black wants to trade those bishops, they have more than one way to do it.
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. What is interesting here is that knight a5 normally is one of the most logical moves because the only big weakness that white has is the pawn on c3. which is a backward pawn. And also c4 is kind of a potential outpost for black. So knight a5 seems pretty logical here, but somehow evaluation bar doesn't really appreciate this move. And yeah, I'm wondering to see what's going to happen next. These are quite small details, but sometimes out of those details, you can get the significant advantage.
Well, again, Dina, I'm going to make the case that black should try to trade that bishop, because like, let's say you go rook fe1 and bishop f5. Like, I'm not going to trade the bishops with you now. Now I'm going to go bishop f1, for example, right? Oh, wait, no, I'm going to go rook e5. Yeah, I always look at the positional stuff first.
Yeah. Well, let's make your point. Actually, you were saying you will go bishop f1.
I still feel like, the black's bishop is just not as good as white's, and I don't see any particular reason why black needed to keep that bishop. So I don't know. I like this bishop e2 idea.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense now that I look at the d5 square. The d5 pawn could actually be a reason why black's white squared bishop is worse than the white's one on his opponent, because d5 is a weakness and it is also situated on the light square. So that would actually make a lot of sense. But apart from strategy, which is really important, we also have tactics. And here, unfortunately, bishop f5 doesn't work because of rook e5. But once again, that gives us back to the point that here, it might actually have been stronger for black to play bishop e2. And the current position on the board is after knight a5. Now that white is thinking, I suggest, Irina, that we move on to the board number 3 between...
Yeah, or I suggest, Dina, that we can go to our break.
Wow, what an exciting suggestion. Let's go take our break, and we will be back very shortly. FIDE World Women's Team Championship. Here we are, right in the middle of the round one. We have just seen some exciting games from one of the strongest players of all time, of our generation, facing each other. Let us take a look at the Pool B. There is a match, very important match for us, between Ukraine and Georgia. It might be the toughest matchup of the whole round one, and it's been a long time we haven't had a chance to look at the game between Anna Muzichuk and Nada Zagnidze. What happened here so far?
Yeah, so it looks from like the current position, looks like Anna is in total control and pretty much the game is working out very well for her. Um, yeah, she just got control over this d5 square. So I don't think this innovation by Nana worked out particularly great. And Anna is just playing really sensibly, and I like this move e4. Yeah, when I see Black's position here, I really see a lack of counterplay. Like everything about White's position looks like it's in the right place, the total control of the two knights over the d5 square. And White is just kind of, I mean, Black is super cramped, right? Black cannot break out at all and pretty much on any part of the board. The only kinds of forcing moves they have are like taking on d5, which doesn't help them at all. So I really think it's not just that White is better, but White is better in a way that is very easy to play, and Black is just lacking counterplay. So it's like one of the worst kinds of disadvantages to have in chess.
Definitely, as I call it, the game for two results. Either White wins or Black manages to make a draw.
Yeah, or the game for one result, Dina.
White wins. Yeah, this is actually pretty much a pity to see Nana having come up with a novelty, but not managing to, let's say, make it work. Because in the end of the day, it looks like, auto-destructive way how to play the opening, and definitely not something that we would recommend to anyone watching us right now.
Yeah, I mean, what's going on with the time situation in this match? Do we see the clocks actually? Because I don't see right now.
Yeah, looks like we didn't have the access to the clock, but I assume everything is still on the run. Like I wouldn't expect any draw from here from this game. So we should probably move on and see the board number 2.
Or let's see how her sister doing. Her sister was not doing very well out of the opening, right? Maria, and here we do have a clock. We see that Nino has a big time advantage. I mean, Maria's already in blitz mode. We saw the position around here after Queen D1. We liked White. And what did Maria do since then?
Wow, interesting. Look at the bishop. He went to F3 and not to D3 as you expected after Queen D1.
But also, okay, very nice. Just bishop B2, sure.
Ooh, here is something that needs our attention. So after B3, preparing bishop b2, White played rook e1, and now after rook b8, we have a very big advantage for White, because it seems like this idea of playing rook b8 and b5 was definitely not in the favor of Black.
Yeah, is White gonna play c5? I almost was like, I was tempted to look at that move c5 as well. Okay, this is a good, but c5 was kind of interesting
c5
as a pawn sack,
and getting the center. Very once again typical strategical pawn sacrifice.
Yeah, it seems like White had some interesting options here. But she played knight d5. Is that it? Okay, because she's threatening to take an f6 and double up the pawns. Okay. I mean, looks like a huge advantage actually after knight takes d5, c takes d5. It looks
absolutely
just crushing positionally.
Wow, look at these pawns. Wow, they're amazing. I mean,
yeah. 2 bishops and 2 center pawns like that. Yeah, you don't see that every day.
This position is just too good to be true. Yeah. Okay, we have bishop f5, and here apparently there was already a way to force everything after e6, and after bishop takes e6, There is some kind of tactics.
Queen d4. Queen d4 protects the.
There
Well,
is
queen d4. There's knight f5. 1 second.
There is queen f4, and there is queen f2 attacking the knight. Intermediate, and both pieces would be under attack. And after, let's see, queen f2. Ooh, in this case, black would even lose.
No. There's the queen. There's the queen protecting.
Oh, sorry. Oh,
yeah,
first,
yeah. I think.
Take it now. Yeah. Now it works. Wow, this would be actually a piece up for white.
Yeah. So what did she do? She played rook f1, but that looks very natural, and so black's gonna go bishop g6, I guess.
Yeah.
Or unless she's gonna go bishop g6.
All right, so rook f1. Now black is thinking, but look at the time. Only 2 minutes for Maria versus 25 minutes for Nino. Wow, so far an amazing achievement for Georgian player who is definitely less, let's say, less titled, if we can compare, or has hasn't been a world champion yet.
Yeah. Exactly. But she looks like she's, I guess it's, my guess is going to be 1-1 on the top 2 boards. Let's see how Shenina is doing. Do we have her?
Yeah, this is the game that we unfortunately don't have the moves, so we can't update our viewers here so far. We can.
What about board 4? We have Osmak playing, I believe, right?
Osmak. Yeah, this one is interesting. Let's have a look at Osmak. We have. Oh, okay. This is something very interesting. We have here the check. We'll probably see either rook f1 or bishop e1. But before that, let us go through the opening very quickly. We had here some kind of Queen's Indian, a very well-known and typical position. What did it? Okay, Irina, you might actually be having some insights on this opening.
Not too much. I mean, it looks. I'm familiar with this type of position. Let's. Do I know the details about this? No, I have to admit not.
As a Queen's Gambit accepted player, I might say that Queen's Indian is not my cup of tea, right?
Yeah. I haven't really played. I mean, I've never really played it for black too much. Not for white either, actually, because I'm more like of a knight c3 player on move 3. So I'm much more familiar with the Nimzo.
All right.
But what is going on here? I mean, we've traded enough pieces. Black looks like they have some.
Yeah, this plan looks like in black's favor. It's, one would say white is attacking, white is pushing, but here it seems against yourself. Ooh, look at this drops of the evaluation bar. We have c5. Computer says one should take on c5, but instead in the game we have rook a2, which changes completely the evaluation. Now changes again. Oh, okay. So there was rook c2, didn't happen. Now queen d1 again in black's favor. We have so many action here in this game. And now c6, bishop c8. When you normally look at this position, you would say, wow, what a strong c6 pawn, and completely restricts the whole black's queen side. But yet here we are, the advantage is for black.
Yeah, I guess it's because the knight on, okay, they've played all these moves already?
Yeah, this is the game. Yeah, we follow it.
Okay, because the knight on b3 was not very good, and the bishop on g2 is also not the best.
And here, as we can see, knight d4 is the last move on the boards. There might be a queen trade soon.
Yeah, well, right now it's not looking so bad. Actually, now I have to say, well, first of all, the knight has improved, right? Like when we saw that knight a few moves ago, it was pretty awful. Now the knight is basically on his perfect square. And also white is actually challenging one of the most active black pieces, which was the queen. That was really annoying. So I definitely see how white's position has improved. I mean, and at some point I have to say, just like white's massive space advantage on the queen side could be relevant, because it's like, if black makes a mistake, it's going to be very costly, right? Even if black's position is still objectively fine. So I'm starting to like white's position more from a practical point of view. I mean, because of that space advantage, because they're holding it, you can't win b5 or d5 very easily. I think there's going to be a trade. I can't really see black avoiding the queen trade here. I feel like it's well, first of all, f5 is hanging, so you even need to consider that. They're probably going to trade the queens and then figure out some way to protect f5 would be my guess.
Let's take a look what happens if black refuses to trade the queens. Does knight f5 give something to white? Seems like computer disagree. There might be some weird attack coming. So many moves. Rook a8. Wow. This is very complex, I have to admit. Rook e8 would be more logical attack.
Compensation for the pawn. That's interesting, you know, because the knight on d4 was a really good piece, and in the middle of midst of taking this pawn, it gets off the board. So and the bishop on c8 actually has no squares, so maybe it's not a bad trade for black. I can see that. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a pretty deep idea that black can think of. Actually, rather like it.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, because you from one side you say, there is this pawn, so you kind of want to protect it, but let's take a look what happens if you don't protect it. And then you see that black has the worst piece of their army, the bishop, and white has the best. So sometimes the pawn doesn't worth this trade, and that's why probably that's
in that case I would say, yeah, in that case queen a5 definitely makes more sense, because black keeps more of the dynamics in the position, which he needs, right? Because you take away all the dynamics, then you just leave white with a space advantage.
Yeah, and here we are. This is the position on the board. Black is thinking, will he trade the pawns? Will he not? This question should remain to Yulia Asmak. And in the meantime, let us move on. We have so many more games from this match. Do you have any preference so far?
Yeah, well, let's go see how's Batsy doing. If she won her game yet. Because we had Maria, she only had a couple of minutes left, so I think that's going to get exciting.
All right, so this was the game between, remind me the both opponents, please.
Batsiashvili versus Muzichuk.
Okay, yeah. So Nino here with white pieces. Oh, it doesn't update us on the moves. Let me refresh. No, it says that Maria lost some time, but this is not true. So we will see the update later on. For now, no news. And speaking of Georgia versus Ukraine, seems like we've made a tour.
Yeah, we completed our tour. We can see how Anna is doing against Nana, because does have that big advantage.
Okay, we do have some changes here. Last time we saw this position was after b4. Here we had queen c8, bishop b3, bishop takes d5, knight takes d5, knight takes d5, rook takes d5, and rook c3. I say we have some changes, but the evaluation hasn't really changed. So still big advantage for Maria, still very big success for her out of the opening, and I guess it doesn't change our expectations from this game.
Yeah, I mean, still, despite those trades, white has really good control over d5. The light squared bishop is amazing. Black's dark squared bishop is not very good. So yeah, I mean, that's right. The evaluation has stayed pretty much the same, with it being very much in white's favor. Maybe we can take a look at some other matches in this division. Who else do we have playing? We have Kazakhstan versus Germany. Yeah, Abdumalik versus Pats. Let's take a look at that.
Yeah, remember this game? We had it with that rook on a7. Unfortunately, it doesn't update us on the moves.
Oh, it disappeared. Okay, I guess
we have one other interesting. We have the board too. Dinara Saduakasova with black pieces versus Josephine Heinemann. And this game we haven't shown enough attention to this game. Actually, we didn't see it at all. So let's look at this Reti kind of opening for white. You know, Arena Reti is very popular nowadays, because some say that some players started being frustrated with the fact that there's usually no advantage in any opening on the high level, so they started using this ready setup in order to transform to some other openings, hoping to get something out of the opening. Have you been in that category of players yourself?
Yeah, you know, the ready was something some years ago. I mean, it's probably been around 8, 9 years ago that I started getting interested in that sort of approach and started studying, you know, the ready and the English opening and added, you know, knight f3 and c4 my repertoire. So even though I cannot say, you know, it's the main thing, you know, that I do, but I'm certainly, you know, it's possible for me to start with those move orders. And I've also been, you know, like a fan of that approach, you know, knight f3, g3, and just, you know, adding more flexibility to your opening repertoire. So, yeah, I think it does make sense for d4 players to branch out in that direction.
Yes, what is interesting about this particular game is that White did manage to get an advantage. And I think the turning point was somewhere here after b takes c5, rook takes c5. It turns out that White is a pawn up, and it's not clear what is the compensation, because you would say, Black has two bishops, but look at this b7 bishop. It actually is blocked by his own pawn, and when it comes to g7 bishop, the strongest so to be bishop, it actually, as we say, points on nothing, because the diagonal is strong, but we do not need all those squares that he controls with White.
Yeah, I think in the final position that, like, I mean, in the current position that they're on, it's kind of interesting to evaluate. It does look like White is just up a pawn and making Black suffer, right?
Yeah.
This would be a little bit of an upset. I mean, because Dinara Sedvikasova, she's like a 2,500 rated player in classical chess, and Josephine Heinemann, I mean, is well, she is an improving, I think, young German player,
Yes,
but
she's relatively younger, and still, of course, improving. Yeah, haven't definitely not won all those titles that Dinar already did. So, of course, is a clear underdog, but still woman grandmaster, a very decent level. And it is indeed a very nice game of her here so far. We can actually congratulate Josephine so far for the achievements, but okay, the game is not over, so it's too early to make any
yeah,
conclusions.
it's very depressing though for Black. I think it's
Yeah.
really not clear where the counterplay is going to come from. I mean, even
One
the you know.
thing one thing we might actually explain to our viewers is after bishop takes c4, we do transform into the position with opposite called bishops. So one might think, this could actually be close to equal, but here we go. The fact is, but with the rooks on the board, it makes it super complicated for Black to defend this kind of positions, because there are so many ways to attack, and the king is in fact not being placed pretty safely.
Yeah, I think what's important to point out about this position, you know, is that okay, this is actually what happened, but you see the e pawns are on the board. If there were no e pawns on the board, Black's chances to draw, I think, would be much better, because his bishop would have the d4 square. The problem here is that like, how is Black going to use that bishop for counterplay or to defend without being able to go to d4? Like, I mean, White basically can get this pawn up quite far. Okay, maybe B, you know, and even like, and the king has that perfect square on g2. So I guess you have to try to get your rook to c2 and your bishop to c3 and your bishop to e1 to try to attack the f2 pawn. But that is not so simple. Yeah, I mean, what can White do here? Like, should we start moving the pawn, or what other kinds of moves do we have? If b4, then there's rook c8. Of course, we could go b5 if we wanted to and kind of go transpose into a rook endgame, but that probably doesn't make much sense.
Yeah,
Uh,
I would keep the bishops indeed, because it gives you more flexibility when converting your advantage. But I can actually like the idea of b4, let's say rook c8, and now something like bishop e6. Simply, okay, you do have a check, but then what? I will still move my pawn, and then I will threaten some mating ideas. And
let's try bishop c3 here. Yeah.
okay, bishop c3, we have b5.
Now we need to think a little bit. Like, should we be trying to play rook b1? I mean, you're going to move pawn anyway.
You
So
might
yeah,
be
let's try
willing
rook
to.
c. Let's try rook c2.
Yeah, you might be willing to exploit my only weakness, but
Ooh,
here it seems like
rook
you're simply
c6.
not in
Yeah.
time. And what it, let's say you start with rook e, oh, sorry, bishop, the bishop first, we go check, and now we can even push b6, and it seems like this f2 pawn doesn't doesn't bring anything to black because here is just
Going to h or
promoting.
even g1, even g1.
Oh right, even g1, king g1, and now let's say rook b2. For
Bishop
now, I cannot
c5.
move, but I have bishop d5, and then I just move away and then promote, and your bishop is too late. Doesn't
Yeah.
join the party. Rook
It's
c8,
true. It's
blocking
very
c7.
unpleasant. It's just it's hard for black to get counterplay here. So pushing the pawn makes sense for white. Is that what she did? She did.
Yeah, rook ca has just followed. Yeah, and one more thing I want to point out. You pointed yourself on the pawns on e4 and e3, and I wanted to once again speak about the pawn structure here. The fact that all black's pawns are on the light squares, and the bishop of white is on the light square. So that actually makes them even weaker and pretty easy target for white.
Yep, that could be. Yeah, the bishop on g7, it's like it's open, but it cannot do very much, yeah, in this position. So let's see what else we got going on in this match. Do we have any other interesting games from Germany versus Kazakhstan? We have Schneider versus Kamalidenova and Klek versus Daletova.
Yes, let's see. Hanna Maria Klek versus Glumir Lerova. Yeah, it's very nice for me to see the last two German boards playing right now, because I actually faced them 3 weeks ago, I think. Yeah, I played Hanna Marie in very early September of this year in German Bundesliga. And with Jana Schneider, we actually played for the same team. So, all right, here we have a lot of updates. We might want to go through the opening now or later on, but
Yeah, let's go later because right now they don't have that much time, so we can just update ourselves in the current position.
All right, so what
the
is
knight b6
happening
is the
here?
current position. Okay.
Yeah.
What is going on? Yeah, I mean, okay, white's b pawn is going to be very strong in this end game. Again, like this bishop on e7 is not the best. And white is stopping the move d5, which is important, and they're going to play, some point b5 and d4 themselves, actually. So, this is quite annoying because, like, let's say you go rook a2, it's like, oh, knight c8. Oops, we already blundered something.
Ooh, yeah.
So I definitely think it's like a million times easier to play this position for white. And that would be, well, I mean, you can take the pawn, or you can just play b5 actually, by the way. Just b5. Whoa.
Wow,
The pawn was
this
not so
actually
good because
doesn't
the bishop
work.
b3. Yeah, bishop b3.
This actually doesn't work. But okay,
Yeah.
it's on practical level. You do need to calculate all those. So it actually, even if it doesn't work, it still looks frightening.
Yeah, I mean, I think b5 in that position was really strong. 5 and b6.
Okay,
I
so
think it's quite difficult for.
And here is what we have. Rook takes d1, rook takes d1. Now black is needs to move this rook away.
Wonder what she's
Yeah,
going to come up with.
It looks like from the human perspective, black has two bishops, but they are really passive. Also, the d6 pawn is so weak, so we would definitely give advantage to white with 5 hands.
Yeah, and the bishop on e3 has just it's very solid. It's like nice how it's on an outpost. You can't kick it away. You can't block it. I mean, he plays a nice solidifying role in white's position. Actually, like he's not necessarily the attacking star, but he's providing a lot of support both to the knight and to the pass pawn.
Yeah, it looks like a dream position here for white. All right, let us briefly take a look at what's the opening. We haven't watched this game so far, and it seems like it was another Rue Lopez with the bishop on e7, the classical version of it. here with c5, as we mentioned, the main idea of this opening. And all right, so this is interesting. Normally this kind of exchange b takes a4 is in white's favor because it makes the c4 pawn weaken, but at the same time black gets his favorite c5 squares. So pretty interesting so far. There are a lot of details. We might not point all of them out just to see how it all occurred. And this is already the structure that we recognize from the game. And white managed to trade all those pawns, and this is what we have right now.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely like where white. Oh, interesting. I have a question for Irina from Bab82. How deep you need to calculate to become a GM? Is it like you need to see 10 accurate moves ahead or more? Well, definitely not for most positions, Bab. Like, you know, it's enough to see a couple of moves ahead, you know, as long as you're kind of thinking in the right direction. I mean, there's relatively few positions where you need to calculate like 10 moves ahead, right? And so far today, for example, I can tell you, I don't think we've seen any positions where that's necessary. You know, and we've been already on air for a couple of hours going through multiple games, and we just haven't even encountered those types of positions where that would be necessary. I mean, so in the vast majority of positions, what is important is to see, you know, see a couple of continuations, like, you know, have options 1, 2, you know, 1, 2, and 3, a couple of moves in probably in each of those lines, and be able to make like accurate judgments, right? What do you think, Dina?
Yes, I actually had the exact same answer. Sometimes you just need to keep the track of the first two moves, and that's enough. And that's the exact same answer that I've heard from many top worldwide grandmasters, and it is actually true. All you need is not to make the mistakes, and sometimes you're a grandmaster simply because you do less mistakes than other players, and this is how you keep the great results. Because in the end of the day, we're all humans, and the game of chess is full of mistakes, and the player that wins the game is the player who makes the mistake, not the last, but one before the last.
Yeah, and you know, Pawn March Destroyer is saying that evaluation of the resulting position is much more important, and I agree. I think that's really the key, and that's what is allowing, you know, the top players to just narrow down their options to the manageable, right? It's going to come down to just the correct evaluation of those of the several options. So now let's see, Rook A3 was played, attacking the pawn. So that's quite a precise move. And I still think Knight C8 is very interesting. Is that what happened in the game?
It hasn't happened yet, but it came to my mind that there might be some kind of difference from the analysis that we had previously, because
But what
here
about
after
just B5? Let's just push that pawn. No, just B5. Like forget the pawn. Can we just try
okay
pushing after? No, I'm saying after Knight C8, maybe just Knight C8 and then B5.
yeah here, but apparently
Oh,
yeah,
you're
the thing
taking the knight.
is that yeah, b5, there is rook c3 attacking the knight might actually be the tempo, and taking and attacking. So this might actually be, well, still not clear because of knight d6. But you know what is interesting here is that there is some kind of a difference that we do not spot yet.
Oh,
So
the
this,
difference is that there's rook d2. The difference is before the rook was on a2 and not letting the rook go to d2. Now on bishop b3, you just go
rook d2 makes sense.
yeah.
Oh, there is also knight b5, intermediate attacking the rook. Both of them work. So here it might have been, by the way, getting back to the question of calculation. Here, how many moves were black to calculate not to make the right move? The right move was rook a2, and after knight d8, it makes it like, let's say 1, bishop f8, 2, knight takes d6, 3, bishop b3. So it would make 3 to 4 moves to calculate, to understand the difference. And yet black made a slight imperfection. And will we see? Ooh. Once again, we didn't see knight c8. But okay.
Yes. C4 is, of course, a logical move. You know, C4, B5, yeah, I mean, why not? I guess black will think about playing like I guess, trying to attack that pawn. And then white has also some nice options. White can think about one, an option to think about. White can think about 95 and allowing, okay, wait.
95 just happened.
Oh, okay. That's right. Okay, 95. So yeah, looks still really nice for white.
95, and we have yeah, simple domination. It's a very pleasant position for black, and it seems like a game my favorite expression for two results. Either white will win or black will somehow manage to save himself, but that's gonna cost him a lot of sweating, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, especially at this point, okay, she's got a lot less time. She's getting down to a minute. I think it's a really unpleasant and I don't envy Dinara's task at all here.
Yeah, and Irina, now that we're approaching the time, the low time, and there might be a lot of scrambles. I think we would be interested to jump from one game to another to see what are the updates. And so far, I actually have a good news for Georgian fans, supporters, because Nino apparently won that game from Maria Muzichuk. Well, we don't have the move, so we cannot show you what exactly happens. I doubt Maria would lose on time or abandon or resign this game, but either way, that is already the result. And speaking of board number 1 from that match, Georgia versus Ukraine, seems like haven't Anna lost all her advantage. Let us take a look quickly what happened here. Last time we saw this position was after rook c3. Now this is the update. I'm going very fast for this game. Ooh.
I mean, she was up a rook at some point, and so it's crazy position though. I mean, very interesting play by Nana, I have to say. Like,
wow.
I think that some of those things there were just shocking to white. I mean, she obviously didn't expect like 96 probably just giving away the rook.
Wow. 96, what an amazing calculation. Knight f4, once again getting back to that question. Here we go. Queen e1 would have been
to really calculate.
She went
queen d2, I think, right? And so she gave up another pawn.
Yeah, but here bishop d7, queen c7, and bishop b6. All those moves that Anna has made were like line 2, line 3, but seems like in the end of the day, this is what costed the advantage, because all of a sudden here there is no advantage for white anymore.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, and now guess what? Even black is better. Yeah,
no, first of all, I have to say, amazing play by Nana. I mean, really a great fighting spirit and a very creative. So what's going on with the pawn? I mean, right now,
yeah, it's
5 for white, like 7 for black.
Only 2 pawns for bishop, but the pieces of black are so active that it makes their position even better. Every single piece of white has to protect the position. This is very, very sad.
I was thinking she might take the b4 pawn.
Yeah, queen b4 also was an option. Here we have queen d5. Okay. Yeah, it seems like pretty misfortunate. Okay.
So she's gonna try to offer the continual rook trades, I guess, after rook e1, rook f1.
Oh, right. So white is repeating the moves, but black doesn't want to repeat anything here. Black is playing for a win. Now we have 3 pawns for the bishop, and this makes it even material equality. So it's actually there's no reason why black wouldn't continue this game.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little hard to see. Like, I mean, okay, if she trades the rooks, yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised if it's going to end in a draw personally, because I think black might just be. I mean, we don't know their time situation either. That's the thing, right? So we don't know if they've got 5 minutes or someone has 1 minute. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if it ends in a draw here, just because I wouldn't feel like super confident that black is just winning. I think anything can still happen, and then you look at black's position and you're like, oh, I do something wrong and I'll lose my b7 and a6 pawn and I'm just going to lose, right? So I do think, like, if black takes a draw, like, I would understand it. And just because it's not completely well, she just can't keep the rooks on the board, right? Or unless she goes to e3, so she can go rook
Yeah.
e2, rook f2, rook e3. She can do that.
Rook f2
Um,
and rook e3. Yeah, that's an option. Yeah, but it seems like it's already 3 times repetition, so I guess now it's just a question of time where we'll see. We'll probably see the draw. Yes, we already have the draw, and this is the thing. There was rook e3. We might would really like to analyze this game, but seems like so many more things are happening right now. And I wanted to update you also on yet another game that we were following previously. Josephine Hanneman was having a very big advantage against Saduakasova Dinara, but here there's slight improvement from one
okay,
side
she
for
won a
black
pawn.
because the king is here. But look at the pawns. Are they falling down?
Yeah, so okay, Savakasova doesn't have much time at all, but she probably will eventually lose those pawns. So maybe rook f4 here, and then bishop e4, but then she can go like maybe rook, yeah, I don't know if that's not very convincing.
That's not very convincing starting from the moment where we were. So there might have been a mistake. Let's now take a look.
There was bishop e8 at the end also. She played bishop f1.
Okay, bishop f1. Look at this passive move. This is definitely not something that we expected. We were analyzing here bishop e6. But okay, this is what happens. And yeah, this is the position that we have right now on the board after bishop c7. Okay.
Yeah, bishop e8, right. That's exactly what I just realized, that she can go.
Yeah.
Attack those pawns from the back. But still, doesn't seem trivial to win.
Yeah, my guess would be this game shall last way longer. But we do have a result from Leila Javakashvili game versus Yulia Osmak. And jumping to this game, we also covered it previously, and we said that White was doing okay with this knight on d4. Now, to update you on the moves, queen takes b4 did happen in the game, so the queens were traded, and this is what we have right now. But somehow, black managed to create something, but it turns out to be in White's favor. Yeah, there was this moment after rook e3 activating the rook, and after bishop g4 might have been the crucial mistake. And now entering to a very much lost rook endgame, and this is what happened in the game.
Yeah, the space advantage, that's what I was kind of saying to you, that, a mistake by black could be a lot more costly when white has that level of space. So that's basically what we saw happen here. That
Correct.
our advanced c pawn wins the game.
Correct.
So Lela wins an important game, but at the same time, this is not match point, so it almost doesn't really matter as much, since you're still going to, you're not, let's say, hurting the team necessarily, but in the same way. But yeah, you do need to collect points, I guess.
Yes, that's the thing. Every single draw matters. And speaking of draws, Osmak versus Osmak versus no, this was Osmak.
This is probably the second round or something, right? Or I don't know. Osmak versus Buksa, that wouldn't make any sense. They're from the same country.
Yeah. No, we have
they can't play each other.
Yeah, I just lost it. Yeah, we have this game. Let me update you. We were just
unless she's
here.
playing. Wait, is Os? I mean, what? Yeah, like.
No. This is correct. I'm jumping to you. Yeah, here we are. Look what happens in Klak versus
Dauletova
game. This is it.
That was where
we saw this game.
Nice,
and we
said
said
nice advantage, and then it disappeared, right?
Yeah, the advantage disappeared. This is surprising.
Yeah, well, there was that rook c3 move. Our audience told us about that.
Yeah.
Possibility.
This was still winning. Oh, it is actually winning. It is actually winning. Nothing disappeared. It is actually very much winning, very convincing with the extra pawn. So everything is fine here so far. Yeah, there was this game of we were just wait, I just lost it. Yeah, this is the game I was looking for. Look what happened. The passed pawn disappeared from Josephine, and that is a very big a big disappointment.
I mean, black has a protected passed pawn on g3. That looks very promising.
Yeah, so the decision to trade the g6 pawn to b5 pawn doesn't seem convincing at all.
Yeah, it seems like it gives black pretty good drawing chances. But somehow
There is still advantage though.
she's really trying to win, but okay.
Oh, but now after bishop c5, there might be an attack to e3, and White will forever have to defend this pawn, and this is not a good sign at all. Super passive.
Yeah, rook e2. I mean, so what? I mean, White's gonna try to push the f pawn. That's the main idea. So she's not risking anything. Despite that strong pawn on g3, the king on b4 is a little bit random. I can still see White winning this position. Oh, that's maybe a good move. G2.
Oh, one more pawn is being traded.
Yeah, okay. That probably looks like it should be a draw. No?
Yeah, this seems like a draw. It's gonna be a quick draw. All right. I'm wondering what is happening in the pool A.
But still, she has to do a little bit of work. I mean, I would probably play bishop c1 here, or keep my bishop on that diagonal. So if there's f5, I can go like bishop. I'm sorry, yeah, more bishop d2, 5. I mean, I still think there is something to be, so she does that. There's still something to be played here.
I think this endgame is very instructive for our viewers because one can learn a lot from how to handle opposite colored bishops with extra pawns.
I mean, now it is going to be a draw. It's interesting. Is she going to give up the pawn? Because that's probably the easiest way to draw. I think
that might be the only way, no? Because if you go bishop e1, the passed pawn might be pretty strong.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to let that king in. So I agree. My instinct is to give up that pawn on h4 and go bishop d6.
From the other side, all that black needs to do is simply to get away the bishop, to sacrifice the bishop against the f pawn and to bring your king to f8. This is how you would guarantee a draw because h8 is of the color of the opposite color from the bishop. Yeah, it should be an easy draw now. Yeah. Okay. All you need is you keep the king to h8 and the bishop to f8 and you stop the pawn. I mean, you sacrifice your bishop from the pawn.
That's true. That's true. I mean, you can, there's lots of ways this could be a draw, but what you're pointing out is like a very important defensive idea. Just use the wrong corner concept and put your king there and sack the bishop. But I think if you just hold the blockade, like there's just no way White can win, right? Hold that blockade exactly. So what else do we have left? Do we have a pool? Can we go to the other pool and see?
Yeah, that would be a great idea to go to the other pool, to the pool A, and see how those players are ready. How are they? There might have been some more games there as well. We had Russia
playing, yeah.
All right, let me have a look.
They are playing. I believe they're playing Spain.
Okay, there is actually only one game that is in progress, and it is Sabrina Vega from Spain versus Lagno, as you said, and seems like a drawish endgame.
Wow, by the way, Azerbaijan drew India.
Ooh, wow, this is a nice achievement.
And they drew India despite losing on the first two boards. Armenia barely beat France. Sabag won, but the Armenians won the next two boards. And so far it's 3-0 for Russia. But so this particular game, I mean, okay, Russia's, let's say, won the match, but how is okay, Lano is better. Yeah, she's trying to win.
Yeah, Lagno is trying. I think
can you win? It's just yeah, if knight f4, king h4, knight g6, king g5. Position like that.
But this position should be close to draw, though. Oh, look, the evaluation bar after king f4. What happened? King
H4. I think
G2.
H4, maybe H4. Aren't you kind of zigzag after H4?
According to the table base, it is a draw.
Okay, well, interesting. She played H4, but
yeah, the evaluation bar jumped like crazy here, but table base still says that this is a draw, so it shouldn't be anything. Okay, you know what? I say this game should finish. No, what? No way.
let's just look.
No, it's winning. It's winning.
Yeah, well, because now that's what I'm saying. It was a kind of a zugzwang, and the pawn is. I mean, she had to make some move. It wasn't obvious to me how this was a draw at all. I mean, the pawn is just going right. H3, knight E3, king
F2. Is there any way H3? All right, but there is. Well, there is no way to stop the pawn. Oh my, this is a very big disappointment.
So knight E3.
Knight E3 check. I say king G1. Now knight G4. But the thing is, even if you sacrifice the knight, there is still one more pawn, and the king cannot come. So it's a lost position.
Yep, it is. Yep.
All right, where was the mistake here? We were saying, you said it was a zugzwang.
Yeah, I mean, that's why H4 seems good to me. I'm not sure. So knight E7, the computer doesn't like.
So apparently the move needed was king F3, blocking the opponent's king, not letting.
Okay, but that's hard, right? Because you have to give up a second pawn. It's not so obvious.
And then goes check, king H2, and then goes king G4, double attack. I mean, attack on the knight, but if knight moves, then taking the pawn. And this is not something you can spot with 20 seconds on the clock.
Yeah, no, I mean, practically speaking, of course, it was hard.
True.
Hard to figure that out. So Russia wins 4-0. Well, not a complete shock, you know. They were playing a team that they're stronger than, but, you know, Russia is, they're all very determined players, you know. They don't like to give up any half points.
Yeah, that is correct. And even the decision to take away Gerashkina, the board number 1 for Russia, was actually a proper decision, since they didn't need her to win the match. Once again, here what is important is game points, but still it is a pleasure to win 4-0 like that. And I think that leaves us to the point that all the games are done, and now it is the right moment for us to take a very short break. But do not go anywhere, because we will be right back. and welcome back to Women's World Team Championship. We have just seen round one ending, and we do have some amazing results. So far, we do have some surprises. FIDE Americas beat Poland with 2.5 versus 1.5. That wasn't the match we were following closely, but yet what an impressive result from FIDE Americas.
Yeah, Poland is traditionally a very strong team on the women's side. They had, just to have very experienced players. So the fact that FIDE Americas got that win with the smallest margin, I mean, it is very impressive. And of course, FIDE Americas gets to collect players from not just one country, but all of the American continent. So that worked out nicely for them, as they've got, players from Peru and Argentina and Cuba and trying to, I don't know, I think Rodriguez Perez, I'm not sure which country she's from, but we'll look that up later. Then we have Alexandra Kostyniuk leading the Russian team to a very convincing 4-0 victory against Spain. So there, I think with that result, they're showing, that they're here to do business. Let's see what other results we have.
We do have France losing to Armenia with a very low score. We see that Marisa Bach, by the way, beat Elena Daylan. You remember that clash of current reigning European champion in Daylan and facing Marisa Bach, who is less active but yet on fire, and she was. So in this match, we have Lilith Mogurchan beating Andrea Navratilova, Anna Sargsyan, a young, a very rising Armenian star, beat Natasha Benesba, and we have Susanna Gaboyan finishing her match with a draw against Silvia Alexieva. Well, France doesn't have its strongest matchup, but that actually could be the reason why they might be underdogs and lose some matches. That was the case, but look at the other matchup. We had Azerbaijan versus India, and that match finished in a draw.
Yeah, interesting. So we have Harika. I mean, Harika beat Gunay Mamadzada. We had looked at that game. That was a Rai Lopez. We liked Mamadzada's position, but Harika had a big advantage on the clock. We didn't see how that game finished, but she did win. Vaishali, we thought that game was around equal, yeah, against Gulnar Mamadova. That was the Petrov, actually. But she wound up winning with the white pieces. We didn't see the other two games. I mean, how Tanya Sachdev did and Kulkarni. But I think this is a successful result for Azerbaijan. I think that they playing one of the top teams in their division, and so to get a 2-2 tie is like really good for them.
Yes, absolutely. I would say that the result was very proper in that matchup, and we have Kazakhstan beating Germany with 2.5 to 1.5. Here we have Janse Abdumalik winning against Elizabeth Betts. I bet that wasn't because of that rook on a7 being on the air, but from some other reasons that we haven't seen. But either way, we had yet another win for the board too, Narstokasova. Well, this is actually doubtful. Now that I say it, I look at it, I doubt it is the right score. I would say this match could be a draw because we all were following the game between the Narstokasova and Josephine Heinemann. That end game was pretty drawish. In fact,
well, Dinara was the one who was down 2 pawns.
Yeah,
right?
that's
She
exactly
was down 2 pawns, so there's no way that she won, right? So probably this match actually finished 2-2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we had the draw on the board 3 and a win for Germany for Hanna Marie Kleck on the board 4.
So another very hard fought match. I think pretty good results for Germany. 2-2 against, I think a slightly stronger team. And of course, the big matchup of the round was the clash between two heavyweights, Ukraine and Georgia. Both of them have won the Women's World Team Championship before. They're always both in contentions for medals at the Olympiad. And, we thought Ukraine was a little bit of a stronger team on paper. But like I said before the round, I mean, it's a very competitive match, and the paper, is not going to tell you everything. And of course, Georgia is completely capable of defeating Ukraine. And I think a lot depended, actually, I'll tell you, a lot depended on those first two boards, you know, and I think that given that the Muzichuk sisters only got half a point, obviously on the boards 3 and 4, definitely I don't think that Georgia has any, you know, disadvantage, and they got 1.5 out of 2 on those boards. So overall, you know, Nana Dzignidze, she had big swindle against Anna Muzichuk, and Nino Batsiashvili had a great opening and converted quite convincingly against Maria.
Yeah, that is correct. We had a draw between Anna Oshchenina, former world champion, and Yulia Smak lost her game to Lela Javahishvili. All right, that's weren't you saying Ukraine is a favorite, but if Georgia wins this match, I wouldn't be surprised?
Yep, that's exactly what I said.
Wow, look at this result. After all, yeah, everything is possible in chess, and this is what makes its sport very fascinating for all the viewers and the fans. So far, we will see the round two very soon, exactly in 43 minutes. If I calculate correctly, we'll see round through. We will have Spain facing India, Armenia facing Azerbaijan, Chess Federation of Russia facing France. And as far as for the Pool B, we will have also very exciting matchups, as Poland will be playing against Germany, Georgia will be playing against Kazakhstan, and FIDE Americas will be facing Ukraine. But so far, let us see where it takes us, because now it's time for us to take a break and be back to you with the round two.
See you soon, guys.